Welcome to the Happy, Healthy Life Podcast with your hosts, Rob and Randy, who reveal the truth, the lies, and confusion about health so that you are no longer the victim to mainstream medical dogma and you are the hero to your own happy, healthy story.
Hello and welcome back to the Happy Healthy Life Podcast with your host Rob and
Randy.
And we are
the Happy Healthy Guys.
Have you ever thought about the connection between what you put on your skin and your health and your metabolism? Today, we are uncovering how real food for your skin can reduce toxins, support your body's repair systems, and even play a role in healthy longevity. I like to say happy, healthy longevity.
That's right. That's right, man. Our guest today, none other than Charles Mayfield. Man, welcome to the Happy Healthy Podcast studio, man.
Great to be here.
Welcome from Tennessee all the way. The founder of Farrow, a skincare company built on regenerative farming and powered by SmartLard. That's right, I said it. SmartLard, a nutrient-rich, vitamin-packed fat that mimics the structure of human skin. Charles, he is passionate about showing how healthy fats, clean farming, and toxin-free living come together to heal the body from the outside in. Charles, we are so excited to have you here with us today. Welcome, my brother.
It's great to be here in the flesh.
That's right, man. We were going to do this with you over in Tennessee, us here in Dallas, Fort Worth, and you're like, I'll have none of that.
That's
so you
right.
literally jumped on a plane and flew in today to jump into the studio.
Absolutely.
I love it.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much for being here. So let's just to start off, because there's probably people that are listening right now that may not know who you are. So let's start with your story. What inspired you to create Farrow? What is Farrow? And why did you choose SmartLard as the foundation for your skincare line? That's right. We said skincare and lard in the same sentence. Tell us about that.
Amen. Yeah, no, thank you, Rob. It's Farrow is an amalgamation of sort of three passions of mine. I was in the health and wellness space for a long time. Cut my teeth in the paleo world, CrossFit and paleo world back in the late 2000s. But yeah, got hooked into regenerative farming through my exploits in paleo, and up and coming, just sort of playing around with a whole bunch of things, and got a really nasty sunburn one day. Was cooking with lard from pasture raised, healthy, happy. You know, this is the Healthy Happy Life podcast. Healthy, happy pigs make really awesome fat, and so I was raising some healthy, happy pigs. Got a particularly nasty sunburn, and in a, I would say, half desperation, half curiosity moment, I decided to treat my sunburned skin with lard from pigs that I had been raising.
So you just dipped into the lard and just slathered it on.
You know, my
I love it.
My mom is from Mobile, Alabama,
Okay.
and we would go there every summer. We'd go spend 10 days down there with her family, and on the bay. It was a majestic childhood growing up.
Gulf shores down there,
yeah.
Orange Beach,
Yeah,
places.
it's Point
absolutely.
Clear.
Yep,
My
yep.
roots are deep in Point Clear. But I had this. It was I can remember it now. But we would get down there for the summer, or any time we went to the beach. And the first thing would happen was like a jar of aloe vera would go in the refrigerator.
Totally.
And so when I had this sunburn, it was like, I've got this jar of lard in my refrigerator. It's got to, typical guy moment. It's like, well, it's got to work.
Absolutely.
Maybe.
Love it.
If it doesn't,
You're going to smell amazing.
I'm going to smell amazing.
And nobody's going to die.
That's right. No, but did you die? No. And so, yeah, I had this moment and tried it out, and it worked flawlessly. Everyone's had a really bad sunburn, and a couple things happen. It's very painful. The pain went away almost immediately applying it. And then the sunburn went away a couple of days later, which I thought was remarkable. It just turned into this golden brown. And then I guess the straw that broke the camel's back, or the light bulb moment, came over the next couple weeks, where I never peeled. And that was the real, because you always peel.
Yeah.
Every single
You get
time
the burn, you're going to peel.
you're going to peel. And
100%.
when I didn't peel, it was like, And so I sort of cataloged that and just stuffed it away. This is back in 2019, and started tinkering in the kitchen. And, fast forward a couple of years later, we launched the first lard-based skincare company.
Wow, unbelievable. I love that story. And I love the fact that it came out of necessity because it was something that you wanted for yourself.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, we can appreciate that story for sure.
I mean, that's how SCT oil happened.
Totally. We get an idea on what we want to have happen, and we have no idea how it's going to happen. And then you just get on GoDaddy and buy the website, buy the URL,
We're
right?
like, what do we call this? I don't know. It's a short chain triglyceride. Let's call it SCT oil. And it was available, so that's what it was called.
Yeah. Then 18 months later, you figure it out, right? When God gives you the opportunity and the idea, you don't have to have all the details, do you?
No. Ready, shoot, aim. Is that how it works sometimes?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we were talking about this earlier. Can you tell the listeners as well? Let them know about the story about how you came up with the name SmartLard.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever talked about this on a podcast, so this is a new one.
Okay.
I have I think we were joking before we hit record.
This is a great story.
A number of the most impassioned pork chefs I know in my life, and there are many, are Jewish. And
That's so funny.
a very dear friend of
But
mine.
never thought
rabbis.
Absolutely. Shout out to Todd Mussman of Muss and Turner's Local 3 in Atlanta, Georgia. I was telling you guys, if you're ever in Atlanta,
Yeah,
please go eat at Local 3. But Todd Mussman, Mussy, is from Boston, and he's one of the best pork chefs I know. And so we were doing some work together, and he was showing me a number of different things he was doing with pork and lard and making lardo, which was, for your listeners that don't know, lardo is lard and powdered sugar mixed together. And he was making the stuffing for handcrafted Little Debbie cookies. Everyone knows the Little Debbie cookies.
Yeah.
sounds amazing.
Yeah. And so he's from Boston. I think at the time, Wicked Smart, was kind of floating around in the
Wicked retarded.
Retarded.
But that's
Wicked,
not politically correct.
Is the pig politically correct? I mean,
that's a whole nother story, right?
That's
We won't
right.
get there.
But yeah, we were carving up a pig. He was sort of showing me the intricacies of that, and we happened upon the term SmartLard. This is back 2000, probably 13 or 14.
Yeah, wow.
And fast forward, I think I told you, Rob, I got home. It's like SmartLard. I'm going to do something with that one day. And so I've reserved the URL probably 8 years ago. And we're the first lard-based skincare company. And not all lards are created equal. You have to raise a healthy, happy pig. I like to say a one bad day pig. And when you do that, their fat is remarkable for your body, for your skin, for everything. And so SmartLard is our way of honoring the animal and also protecting the consumer from would-be industrial pork lard companies.
Yeah, it's a different ball game. Yep. Not the same product.
Not even remotely the same thing.
Not at all. Well, and I want to dive into that. But I was going to ask you because, we teach our community, our happy, healthy community, about eating healthy fats. Fats have been vilified, maybe none more than pork, but any animal-based fat really, especially I remember in the early 90s when it went no fat, as seed oils were just silently creeping into every single thing that we ate. And then at the point that really just got vilified, things like butter, right, which nourished our ancestors. Obviously, shameless plug, SCT oil, the world's only short chain triglyceride, which is an animal fat. Coconut oil as a non-animal based saturated fat. But these are essential for our metabolism and for hormone balance. Heck, we're made of animal fat. We are animals. So how could it be bad for you? But how does applying nutrient-rich fats like SmartLard, wicked smart.
You sound retarded.
You do, wicked retarded. So how does applying the SmartLard to the skin, how does that support it? Is it similar? Is it different? What's the uniqueness about applying the lard to the skin?
Yeah, sure. So optimal skincare is really about a couple of things. pH. You can look at commercial skincare and get a really good idea about what matters most. So pH balance is a very big thing. The problem with industrial skincare is they're putting so many chemicals and various things in.
That's right.
Preservatives and emulsifiers that they're constantly jacking with the pH, and so it's really important with industrial skincare to sort of try to get back to a neutral pH, because
Is that the goal? You're wanting more of that neutral pH.
You want it to be aligned with our skin, which is just slightly off 7.
Okay.
But pH is a big thing. Lipid, the balance of lipids, so the ratio of monounsaturated, saturated, polyunsaturated fats, and how is that broken down? How does it line up with us, our skin, and our human sebum is the oil that our glands produce. So how close is that balance? And then the last piece is naturally occurring vitamins and minerals. So we see this with food as well. So synthetic vitamins and minerals don't absorb. We don't metabolize them as well. And so you want the vitamins and minerals in your skincare to be naturally occurring and naturally metabolized and naturally stored. And pig fat is when the pig is raised in a healthy, happy.
And that's the key.
That is the key.
Yeah.
We can talk about tallow real quick. We use tallow in our products. Tallow is amazing.
Yeah.
Tallow comes from cows. We're not a cow. We're not a monogastric omnivore. Excuse me. We're not a multi-chambered stomached herbivore. We're a monogastric omnivore.
Yes.
And so because a cow does not metabolize its environment the same way we do, it's a safer fat. You can feed a cow a whole bunch of garbage, and we do in the industrial scene. You can't do that with a pig. If you feed a pig garbage in, garbage out with a pig. Garbage in, not necessarily garbage out with an herbivore, because their entire metabolization is built on fermentation. And so just like we do with sourdough breads and some of the other ferments that are out there, the fermentation process eliminates a lot of bad things because of that, how it works. And so pigs don't ferment. They're just like us. I feel like I'm all over the board here.
No. Okay, so I like what you said there, though. Yeah. So the difference between a ruminant animal, which has a multi-chambered stomach, we're definitely not cows. We don't have the ability to biohydrogenate a bunch of grass. They are magical creatures. But the pig, I think and we've talked about this, I think this is key to our audience listening, is you have to take the utmost proper care to provide an environment of a pig, because they are monogastric, just like humans. What you feed them, it absolutely matters.
Yeah, because like we were talking about a little while ago, is we're talking about what will a feral pig eat?
Yeah.
And a feral pig would be like a feral human that will eat anything, right?
Yeah.
So you got to be really intentional about what these pigs are eating, right?
You do. I love that we're talking about this. What the animal's diet gets most of the discussion.
Yeah.
But how the animal is raised is huge.
Yeah.
And again, back to pigs and humans. Pigs will sunburn. They're one of the few animals on the planet that will sunburn. Elephants,
I didn't know
pigs, humans. There's one more, like marsupial. I can't remember.
Kangaroos?
Maybe. Maybe.
I've actually eaten kangaroo meat. So
I'm sure it's delicious.
Yeah, it is delicious. Yeah.
So, take a human, okay? You can, if a human's getting plenty of sunshine, fresh air, lots of exercise, has a good community of friends, that human being can eat some pretty nefarious stuff and be okay. Now in the long run, you want to eat optimally a good diet.
Sure.
But we get way more room or margin of error with what we can eat if all the other lifestyle pieces are in place. And so it is important what you feed a pig. It is important what you feed a cow. But the fact that that gets plenty of fresh air, sunshine, exercise, isn't rolling around in its own excrement for days, weeks, months on end. That's poop and pee for your listeners that don't know. And the factory farming model is a concentrated indoor hellhole. It is absolute torture. It's like a modern day concentration camp for animals. So get them out of that system. Yes, we want to feed them well, but the more important thing is giving them exposure to the sunshine and friends and exercise and fresh air.
And I love this, because this is actually a food, so it's rich in nutrients. So can you talk then about what people are putting on their skin now that are packed full of chemicals, for example, and or seed oils that we talk about all the time, the difference between putting something like that on your skin and putting something like this that is real food nutrition onto your skin, what's the difference there?
Sure. Well, there's two big differences. One, we'll take animal fat in one corner and then everything else in the other corner. So the big thing with putting animal fat on your skin is you're an animal.
Yeah.
It's going to recognize that. Now, I would make the argument that it's going to optimally recognize pig fat over any other animal's fat just because we share so much biology with pigs. But all animal fats are pretty good for our skin. The flip side of that, walk into your CVS or walk into your Ulta or Sephora, any of these, big retailers, everything in there is an emulsified product. And what happens when we emulsify a product, you take water and you fat and you mix them together. Well, they don't play well. This is where all these chemicals, emulsifiers, preservatives come in. And so the good thing about using animal fat is it's something your skin more recognizes. The bad side of the industrial products, you mentioned seed oils, Rob. There's seed oils, there's petroleum derivatives, and there's plant-based oils. These are all the sort of the ingredients used in industrial skincare. Our biology doesn't recognize any.
I was going to say, none of those things that you just listed are things that I would even put into my mouth.
All the
eat.
fragrances and the,
Yeah.
and the parabens, like the
synthetic,
endocrine disruptors, are just making you sick, because what you put on your skin, it is going to end up in your blood supply.
That's right. So the two real nefarious things about, again, what I'll call industrial skincare are the fats they're using are at best garbage and unrecognizable to your body, therefore not absorbed as well. Okay. But even worse than that is the chemicals that they are using, whether it's synthetic fragrances or phthalates or parabens or, these various emulsifiers, all of those things are huge endocrine disruptors.
Yes.
Most of them are estrogen signaling, which is, again, why I think we have a female puberty problem and a male testosterone problem in this country. I can unpack that. Females are having puberty at younger and younger ages. That's not good. And male testosterone is dropping. I think your average teenager today has the testosterone of their great grandfather. And so all these estrogen signaling compounds, we see the same thing in food. And your skin is your largest organ, and it does eat things. And so we do want to ideally and optimally feed it. And so, animal fat, focusing on animal fats and focusing on getting these chemicals out are both very important.
Yeah, huge. It's a big, well, a lot of people think, like you were talking about earlier, Charles, when you think about your health, and a lot of times it goes on what are you eating, which we know is vital, but it isn't just about what you're eating. It is your lifestyle. Are you out in nature? Are you ancestrally consistent with the things that make the most sense?
Hey there. Thank you so much for listening to the Happy Healthy Life podcast. We appreciate it. Now, if you're somebody who's curious about your metabolism, how you're doing with your metabolism, go to metabolismscore.com, take the quiz, find out where you're at.
Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to the Happy Healthy Life podcast. And, we don't make a lot of products, but the products we do make are all metabolically focused. So go check these out. Go to thehappyhealthylife.com. And when you get to checkout, use code podcast to save 10% off any and all of our metabolic friendly products. Are you putting things on your skin that have these toxic chemicals that 100% make you estrogen dominant and cause you to wreck your metabolic profile? So it's a big deal. And, we see, probably our largest demographic of people that we work with metabolically are women, 45 to 65.
Oh, yeah.
You think about how many chemicals they've been slathering on their skin since they were just a child, the makeups, the deodorants, the skincare, the shampoos, the lotions.
Yeah.
I mean, every single thing over and over and over. And this is why, you really see a lot more women who have thyroid problems, endocrine problems, metabolic disorders, PCOS. I mean, the list goes on and on. but a lot of that is linked to using these toxic skincare products. I mean, this is an easy, we talk about making a shift and replacing things. It seems like your line of products, that's an easy replacement, right? Because it's a lateral move. You're just eliminating toxins and you're now giving your body an upgrade where you can use a product that really your body is going to do great with, and you're going to love I mean, I love it when the first time I tried your product, we were at one of your booths. Where was that? What was that booth? Was that at the Asbury?
It was at the Dave Asprey event
Asbury.
back
It
in
was
May.
at
right.
Asbury,
May.
and
right.
and we were rubbing it on our hands, and one hand got your skincare product, the other hand didn't, and I was like,
Don't, that's our secret.
I was like, I want to keep the hand on the left with the skincare product from Farrow because it just made your skin.
Remember, we came back a day later.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
You could still see the difference or feel the difference.
Yeah,
That's our shtick, folks, for you listening, is we call it lathering. We lather one side and then we give you 24 hours.
I don't know that I'd want you to lather anything on me, but the person that was at the booth,
Charles, you
that-
promised to
it was
lather my
way better.
face in lard before we got on the podcast. I heard you say that.
So sorry. Sorry.
Oh my God. Okay, we digress. But
Hey, yeah, go ahead.
no, you got something. Go ahead. Go.
Well, what I was going to say is because
we could keep this guy here forever, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we obviously love pork, and I just want to talk about that a little bit because we were talking about that a little while ago about how pork always gets so vilified. Obviously, this is a product that comes directly from lard. Let's talk about the pig. And you said something earlier that's just really staying in my mind. Is you called the pig the modern day hero.
Yep.
Let's talk about how and why that is, because there are probably people that are listening. They're going, forget about the skincare products. That's that same person that goes out to eat and goes, you know what? No, I don't want the bacon. And they stay away from it because they think that pork or pig is a bad thing for them. So let's talk about how it's really, like you said, the modern day hero. Explain that and unpack that a little bit more.
Sure. Well, I would say when we are talking about the pig, it's important to talk about two different kinds of pigs.
Okay.
One comes from a farm like Randy's friend that's a couple hours out of Dallas, or Polyface, or whatever.
Anne Marie at Sully Farm.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so that's a pastured pig.
Yes.
I would call that one type of pig, and then the other one comes from a factory, CAFO, concentrated animal feeding operation, an industrial pig. Those are two very different manifestations of a creature.
Okay.
And so, and that's important because, again, tying this into food and everything else, you can get your beef at Walmart. I wouldn't get your pork or chicken.
No way.
And that's just
No way.
because monogastric omnivores are different than herbivores.
Yeah.
Right.
And
And
ruminant.
so, and ruminant species. And so, anyway, positioning the pig as a modern day hero. Well, I mean, for starters, they are a leader in medical research. If your grandmother got a heart valve replacement last month, there's a high probability she's walking around with pig parts, right? So there's one. We harvest a number of different hormones and fluids from pigs. We use those directly in human medical care. So they're a superhero in that regard. Regenerative, from a farming standpoint, they're remarkable. Now, again, farming has industrialized as much as anything, and so we're not really leaning per se into the hero nature of the pig in a farming setting as we used to. But they would glean the fields. You'd harvest the wheat, harvest the corn in the fall. The harvest equipment 100 years ago, 200 years ago was a little suspect. So you'd have a lot of spent grain that would never go to waste because you'd fatten your pigs. We were talking about the seasonality of pork.
Yeah.
You would have your pig, and when you'd harvest your garden or your crops, the pig would make sure that nothing went to waste and would fatten up, and then you would take that pig another month later and you'd put it in the freezer. Or the larder, the smokehouse back then. But they are a superhero animal in farming, albeit we've removed them from that capacity much in many respects today.
Yeah, we're pretty good about that with a lot of different things.
That's right.
Yeah.
Culinarily, they are an absolute hero. So, if we wanted to unpack the bad rap they get from I think a lot of it stems from the religious undertone.
No question.
Of this is a dirty animal, and
Yeah.
I've talked about this in a couple places, but the Old Testament, yes, I think the New Testament brings to light the magic of the pig. Jesus used the pig to cast out demons and get them away from human beings, and so I think that's a clear story that the pig is here for many reasons. It is a gift from God, but the Old Testament. Here's the thing. Have you ever been to a restaurant and ordered pork tartare?
Never.
You've never done
Never
it.
seen it.
Never seen it. It does not exist. Now, you can cure pork, but you never eat it raw. Pork is a monogastric omnivore. There are stipulations that, people that were telling stories 10,000 years ago didn't understand, but if you eat undercooked pork, someone might, not will, but might get sick, trichinosis and various things like that. And so I think if you're telling a story, and the goal of that story is to perpetuate your species and have them live their best lives, then you might tell someone that that's a dirty animal and you shouldn't eat it, because we didn't understand food safety and you got to cook this. I mean, 1,000 years ago, you ate a lot of raw meat.
I was going to say, man, is it really that you're getting exposed to some bacteria, or is it the way these pigs were raised, they're toxic,
Both.
and now we're getting sick because really the bacteria may be there. It's kind of like causation versus correlation. Maybe the bacteria and the parasites are there to bioremediate because this animal has been poisoned with the way they were fed, the way they were treated. They obviously have been abused and tortured. I don't want to eat anything from an animal that's not healthy, raw, cooked,
Oh, sure.
cured.
Cow, chicken,
Nothing to do.
Yeah.
If you eat an animal that wasn't healthy, how could that be healthy for us?
No, that's a very good point. Very good point. The religious, I believe, the religious undertones are built around the idea that raw pork, because it's a monogastric omnivore, because it has a different viral and pestilence load. We have bugs that live in and on us. We have
10 times as many as we even have cells.
That's correct.
That are part of us, not separate from
That's
us.
correct. We cohabitate with them.
Absolutely.
And so on a religious text standpoint, I just like to point out that if you properly cook pork or cure it, it is quite remarkable and quite nutritious. Now, on the skincare hero front, human sebum. So there was a study, 2023, they studied human sebum, which is the oil our glands produce. And they figured out it was super rich in fatty acids and triglycerides, but specifically palmitic and oleic fatty acids. Those two fatty acids make up a big portion of human sebum, which is critical for barrier function and moisturization. Well, it just so happens that lard is super packed with oleic and palmitic acids.
There you go.
And so it's a spot on match. I mean, if you look at the history books, the wound care, salve, skin treatment role that pigs have played for centuries is remarkable.
Wow. And so I got a question in regards to that, because we're a real food-based company. You just can't replace bioavailable, nutrient-dense real food the way God created it, the way our ancestors ate, with a bunch of supplements. So the big supplement out there that everybody talks about as we're headed into the winter is you got to supplement vitamin D, which I think is a complete huge mistake. Most vitamin D products are obviously not healthy. That you would never get vitamin D isolated. You would get it obviously from the sun or from real food. And I think our body probably has storage capabilities to last us through the winter. I just don't know that supplementing vitamin D, I mean, heck, they call it decon for a reason. Maybe it kills rats. I don't know. Point is, as I land this plane on lard on this topic, is does a pig absorb sunlight the way a human does? And does that create vitamin D in the lard?
Yes.
So if you eat lard and cook in lard, you're going to get bioavailable vitamin D. The
Yes.
answer is yes.
Yes.
Okay, I love it.
More so than any other creature other than humans. But
Yeah.
we're not braising humans and eating them. That's off limits.
I don't think we are.
We should eat the pigs, though. No, a pig, I mentioned earlier, pig's one of the few animals, including humans, that get sunburned. So a pig will metabolize vitamin D and store excess vitamin D in its subcutaneous fat, which is where lard comes from.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that olive oil is amazing. Back to culinary. Lard's amazing. Butter's amazing. olive oil is amazing. These are all amazing fats. They've all got their sort of niche.
Yeah.
The real niche for lard is palmitic and oleic oils. So a ton of monounsaturated fats. And then it's also got an absolute boatload of vitamin D, assuming, again, the pig was raised properly and had plenty of sun exposure.
Yeah. Okay. So that Dr. Rob and I took a trip to Sardinia not too long ago. We were sending you pictures. Did we create any FOMO at all?
So much FOMO. Yeah.
We were thinking of you, my brother. In fact, we won't go back without you. You're coming with us.
You're coming with us to the Chapel of Pigs.
Yes, our friend Antonio, the Chapel of the Pig, the breed of pig there, the Sulamina pig. I'm sure, you were very familiar with that breed when I thought I was giving you new information. You're like, dude, I've forgotten more knowledge about pigs than you would ever learn.
Well,
but I was blown away because the quality of the meat, it was just the most decadent meat we'd ever had. And come to find out, as we're there in Sardinia, this was really, lard was what had been nourishing these villages there in the mountains of Saulo for hundreds of years. That's the original blue zone, where you have more people living over 100. And so the longevity fat, it was not olive oil. It was lard, and they used to have tons of feral pigs there. Then they had come in and they'd cleaned out the forest, the pigs left, but now they're coming back 50, 70, 80 years later, and it's such a prized animal there in Italy. And I was thinking of you because obviously you've been screaming this from the mountaintop, but animal-based fats are phenomenal. And I was telling the story to my mom, and she goes, I want to tell you the story about the 6 sisters. Have I told you the story about the 6 sisters? I know Rob knows the story. So my mother's grandmother, they were all born back, I guess, in the 1860s. And they all 6 of the sisters lived to be 96 to 100. And one of them died at 98. She died in a house fire. She may still be alive. So it wasn't even the old age that got her. But the point is, they all raised pigs and they rendered pig lard. Everything that they made, from their cosmetic products to bars of soap to what they ate. Of course, they milked cows. They had a garden. It was all natural, but that was their longevity fat back in the 1860s, 1870s, all living to be over 95 years old. And it's remarkable because, when you think about the pig has been so vilified, and I think about, well, don't tell the 6 sisters that, because these women were literally eating pig lard every day. In fact, that was the secret to my mom's. She makes the best desserts.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And nobody could ever figure out why her pie crust was so flaky.
Leaf lard.
And she goes, Randy, it's because your great grandmother and probably all of their mothers before them were using the leaf lard, and it's the most flaky crust. Yep. You can't replicate it with any other fat. So anyway, I thought that was interesting. The 6 sisters tell us, eat your healthy lard.
So everyone knows tallow because it's hot now.
Oh, it's so hot.
Tallow's hot. Well, tallow is the rendered visceral fat from a ruminant, most commonly a cow.
So it's not even.
It's not subcutaneous. It's the suet. It
is suet. That's suet. Tallow, but most tallow is not suet. I don't think it is.
Tallow is a placeholder term for the rendered visceral fat from a ruminant.
From the kidney area, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So beef suet is the name of the fat, the kidney fat of a cow.
Okay.
Leaf lard, I just dropped this term, so I wanted to back up. So leaf lard is the tallow equivalent, but from a pig. So it's the visceral internal fat. And it was prized as a basic baking and frying fat because it's internal, because it doesn't have a smell or taste. And it's also incredibly good at flaky pie crust. I think it has to do with the fatty acid ratio in leaf fat as well.
Is it a lot different? You still got the oleic and the palmitic.
Yeah. Less vitamin D because again, it's not a storage fat.
Yep.
But still quality. But the big part, the reason leaf lard was so popular was because it did not have a smell or a flavor. And when you're baking, your pie crust, you don't want the fat coming through. You want the crust to come through. But
Makes
no,
sense.
part of the problem we have today across cross culturally with food and everything is there aren't that many people that are directly connected with food.
Yeah.
You know, you go to the grocery store, you don't even go to your farm anymore, or farmer's market. And Randy, we used to eat so much more pork. You've mentioned butter a few times. Butter was a rarity a couple hundred years ago. You'd milk the cow, but you had to churn the butter.
Yeah.
You rarely did we eat beef because, again, we can't contextualize this enough. A fully mature cow is 1,500 pounds, 2,000 pounds. You kill that animal pre-refrigeration. Like, what are you going to do with it? You know, you've got to butcher it up.
That's a lot of food. That's a year's worth at least for a family.
And if it's not winter and cold, all of that spoils within a matter of days. And so we leaned, again, back to this sort of superhero thing, Rob. We've leaned into pork and pigs as a protein sustenance year round. You know, you can slaughter a pig, you know, a couple hundred pounds in July, and if you've got a cold spring right there, you drop the carcass in and keep it cool. But pigs, we have leaned into pork, and butter is great, but the old butter was a lard spread, you know, and you'd impart your favorite herbs or flavors or whatever in, but it was lard spreads. Were very common a couple hundred years ago. So
I love it.
That's awesome. So I'm curious because, and you said it earlier, with Farrow being tied to, you talked about regenerative farming. We talk about regenerative farming a lot, and how it ties to having a healthy soil, having healthier animals to create a healthier human, and it all just goes together. You know, how do you see farming in Farrow and what you guys do, tying food together with skincare, with just really overall human health, longevity, metabolism? How do you see that all tying together in the future?
yeah, God, good question, Rob. Well, I mean, if we run out of soil, we're done. And you know, it should be front page news. It's not, but that's the number one global asset we lose by the acre each and every year in this country and around the world is topsoil. You know, healthy food should also be healthy for the environment. You know, growing nutrient dense food should also be growing soil nutrition, you know, organic matter. And so how does all this tie together? How does it tie together with skincare? Well, raising healthy, happy animals in a system where you're building soil, it's a circular system. So we should be feeding the soil and ourselves simultaneously. That should all be pointed in the same direction. And so where does all this fit in? Where does Farrow fit in? Farrow fits in because you have to raise healthy, happy animals for my product to exist. And so if we're going to heal the planet and build a healthy ecology, then animals play a critical role in that. There's no healthy ecology on the planet where animals are not front and center.
Yeah.
And when I say animals, I do mean herbivores. You know, cows play a huge role. Pigs play a huge role. Birds play a huge role. It's that, you know, there's no mono. What's the term I'm looking for? There's no solo system of animals.
Yeah.
You know, look at agriculture today. The pigs go over here and the chickens go over here and the cows go over here and we grow the corn over here and we grow.
Never worked that way.
It's all separate.
Now, we're, as human beings, we're great at separating people. It's been happening since the beginning of
Deconstructing.
that's how we get even racism. You know, it's just separating everything.
Yes.
I believe that if you believed in an evil one or Satan, that's how he would actually do what he does, is to keep us separated.
That's right.
Right. And so it happens. It's exactly what it is you're talking about right now.
The monocropping, obviously destroying the soil, but even you can't even take one thing out of what God created that all works together. Everything does have a purpose and works together. And the more we understand that, and we'll only know so much, the more beautiful the picture looks. It's kind of funny. I remember having a pool at my home when I lived in Texarkana, and I was getting overrun by these barn swallows. They were swooping into the water. I'm like, I got to get rid of these guys. and they're building nests on my house and they're swooping into the water. So I put out fake snakes and a fake owl. And then within 2 weeks, the barn swallows are gone. But guess what happens? Exactly. Then I've got mosquitoes and I've got an overrun pool of spiders. I was invaded by spiders. I'm like, yeah, I think I'd rather have the barn swallows than the mosquitoes and the spiders. But it was kind of like I was trying to outsmart nature, outsmart God, and change the ecosystem in a way where it's like, you can try, but there's always going to be a rebound. The pendulum will swing back. And I think that's almost what we're seeing now. And correct me if I'm wrong, there's a huge pendulum now. It feels like it's swinging back in the right direction as we're getting back to the way God designed it to be with regenerative and sustainable agriculture and the way we're farming and the way we're ranching.
I hope so. There's two pieces to that. You've got to have the people willing to do the work, which I believe still exists. I mean, farming is a lifestyle. It's very hard work. It's very rewarding work. But then on the flip side of that is we have to have a system that encourages that type of thing. And so if you look at where the farm subsidies are in this country, if you look at where, the food safety laws are in this country, we've been talking about fermentation and, the chapel of the pig that you went to, it would be a USDA, FDA nightmare.
And Massimo's cheese room.
And
they
cheese,
shut them down.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And the bugs.
Of course, of course. And so we've got this got this real imbalance right now, but I do believe that the momentum is shifting. He's not perfect, but Mr. Kennedy and everything going on with Make America Healthy.
Sure.
And I think there's a lot of really good undercurrents there. And so I am encouraged. I will say this, and at the end of the day, everyone listening, it's not up to Mr. Kennedy or anybody. It's not up to you two. It's not up to me. It's up to you, the listener. No one's coming to save you.
True.
And vote with your dollar. I mean, that's the theme, that whether it's buying our products or buying from the farm or your SCT oil. I mean, there's healthy, nutrient dense options out there, whether it's food or skincare or anything. And when it comes to skincare, I'll say this: just putting the garbage that they sell you down. You don't have to buy my product or pick it up. I mean, I tell people all the time that, like, a good step one is just getting away from.
Stop poisoning yourself.
Oh my goodness, it is so. Yeah, what do they say? If you find yourself in a hole, the first thing to do is stop digging.
Exactly.
So I would definitely encourage that. Is there a LARD based? Am I allowed to read questions as they pop up?
We'll get to those questions here.
Yeah. I know.
We've got.
Answer the question.
And we absolutely will. We'll get to the office hours.
Yeah.
And just so you know, if you're listening right now to the podcast, you're going to want to tune in a couple of weeks, because we are going to do a behind the curtain, so you can find out what happens as soon as we go off the air on the podcast, where you're going to actually be able to be with our clients and see exactly how we answer questions with them. So that's just a teaser for that. However, before we jump off with Charles, who's going to be able to go into our office hour, so he's going to get the peek behind the curtain right now. Yeah. And so we have a question that we ask all of our podcasts and guests, and you have no idea what this question is, and we like it that way. So here's the question. So, and by the way, we're going to put all the information to be able to get a hold of Charles and Farrow and look at all the skincare products that they have, because you should be using these skincare products. But before we
and also Charles has a huge TED Talk coming up. I believe you're recording on Friday of this week. So you're going to want to hear, and we'll make sure we link up to Charles, because his TED Talk is going to be unbelievable. So I'm super pumped about it. I know you are as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well done, sir.
So here's a question. So how would you define what it means to be living a happy, healthy life?
I really didn't know this question was coming. It's good.
True story.
Yeah, true story. How would I define it? My goodness. My mom references this all the time, and I have it hanging. There's the old man in the mirror story. And I think if you can stare at yourself in the mirror and feel good about where things are, that you're probably living a pretty healthy, happy life.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's no right or wrong answer.
Man,
I like that.
there's so many ways you could go with that. It's a great question. Yeah, if you like what's staring back at you when you look in the mirror, I think that you're living a healthy, happy life.
I love it.
And I can say that, Charles, anytime I've ever been around you or we're in a public space or at an event, man, everybody wants to be around you because you have the best energy.
Oh,
and
thank you.
everybody
True
just
story.
knows that you care about them. So I think you live the happy, healthy life, right? And it's not just what we eat or what we say, it's really what we do. And that's really what people are watching and looking at anyway.
Well, thank you.
True story. So thank you so much for being here. We'll put all of his information in the show notes. And so as always, make sure that you share the show with others because it does make an impact and it does change other people's lives. Rate the show, comment on it. If you have any questions, always reach out to us on Instagram at the H2 Life. And these guys are lathering themselves up over here. So, and I don't need you guys to lather me up. I will do that on my own. Y'all have a great day. And all of our folks, our happy, healthy folks, stay on for our office hours. Thanks, Charles.
Love you guys. That stuff is incredible.
Thanks for listening to the Happy Healthy Life podcast. If you enjoy the show, make sure to follow them on Instagram at the H2 Life or on YouTube and Facebook at the Happy Healthy Guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, and review the show wherever you listen to podcasts.